my name is Aksik, aka Annika, and welcome to my channel. Today I thought I would do a little flip through and also a couple of little paper tests for this Japanese coloring book about ancient Greek myths. It's a really lovely book. It's a smaller size, kind of a compact. That's Rita Berman book. You can see comparatively, Rita Berman book is maybe tiny bit smaller, but if you put it against your typical 10 times 10 book, like Melpomene's books, you can see how much smaller it is. So it's called Greek Mythology coloring book, and the author is, excuse my pronunciation because I'm really not very familiar with how to pronounce Japanese names, but it looks like Yoshimi Sekiguchi. That's what Google Translate told me anyway. There's no other way for me to find it out. The paper feels nice. It is not terribly, it is thick enough. Seems to have nice tooth, so it will be lovely with pencils. And it's slightly off-white. It's not cream, but it's not blinding bright white. And in the beginning, these are a couple of samples and some instructions how to color the pages. And then there's what pages you can find stuff on. And there's, I think it's some introduction to Greek mythology, possibly. I genuinely don't know. And here start the coloring pages. Now, I will break the spine because I will do it anyway. I want my books as flat as I can get them. It is glue bound, so as you can see here, but it seems sturdy-ish enough. Well, that will really only come out in long-term use, but Japanese books usually don't fall apart for me, even if they are glue bound. Now, the first page is obviously Zeus. Unsurprisingly, the ruler of the gods, and then his wife Hera. Next page. This, I am pretty sure, is Aphrodite. And this one looks like Eros, which is kind of weird choice to put them right after Zeus and Hera, but okay. Eros, from what I remember, was son of Aphrodite. Poseidon. This one is Apollo, clearly. Hermes. Artemis. Hopefully I'm in the shot properly. I hope so. I love the Artemis page. Going to make a lovely nighttime page. The paper does feel nice. Okay, who's here? Athena. That's, I think, Ares. Hephaestus, the god of smithing and invention. Hades, the god of the underworld. Ares is god of war. Athena is also good as a war, but also wisdom. And her owl. That is Demeter. Pretty sure it's Demeter. She is god of nature and agriculture, and the harvest. Dionysus, god of wine and partying. And then there's little thumbnails of the pages, and you could, there's underneath every thumbnail, there's a little synopsis or a story in Japanese, which you could easily translate with the Google Translate just with your camera. So that would be fine. So this was the first part, which was just the gods. And here comes the second part, which is myths or different stories. And some of them I know very well, and some of them, most of them I know pretty well, but some of them I was kind of, no, not really sure. I had to kind of remind myself. But this one is the birth of or creation of the Milky Way. And that little baby is Heracles, or, if you are used to a Disney version, which is actually Roman version, Hercules. And this is Hera, Zeus's wife, and Heracles was a son of Zeus and one of his mortal lovers. Don't remember exact name, might have been Alcmene, don't know for sure, no, off the top of my head, but because he was so fond of his son, he secretly put the baby on the breast of his sleeping wife to feed there and to get godly powers. And when Hera woke up and saw a strange infant breastfeeding, she was startled and she pulled away, and the milk spraying from her breast created the Milky Way. So that's a creepy story. This is birth of Aphrodite. That's easily recognizable for all of us, I presume. That is pretty sure it's a death of Adonis. Adonis, who was a very good-looking young man and was greatly beloved by Aphrodite. And they were hunting together, from what I remember, or he was hunting, and he was killed by a wild boar, or gored by a wild boar, and he died in Aphrodite's hands. And I mainly recognize that because there's anemones, anemones here. How to pronounce that? Those flowers, they were born of his blood when he died. So that's how I recognize this myth. This is Eros and Psyche. And at first I was confused what this one was, but it's the same myth essentially. This is the ending of it. You would need to, it would be too long of a story. I can't be telling all of those stories, otherwise I'm going to be here for a very long time talking about this book. But yeah, it's both of these are Eros and Psyche and their story. It's cute enough love story, although the beginning is kind of on a creepy side. That's Iris, the goddess of the rainbow. That I had to look up. I didn't remember what it was. I didn't even recognize that, but apparently it's Dryope. And she's a princess who is walking on the lakeside, at the lakeside with her baby, and she picks one of the water lilies, the red water lilies. And unknown to her, the water lily was actually a nymph that was hiding, possibly from Apollo, because all the nymphs tend to be, it seems to be, were chased and were hiding from Apollo at some stage. And the flower started bleeding, and she became like slowly transformed into a tree. And the baby was still in her arms. Kind of awful and tragic story, so possibly not something I want to color. This is Apollo with 9 muses. Now, I don't recognize all the muses here, mainly because they're not really distinctive in what they are doing, all of them, but I know that this is Urania. She is a muse for astronomy, astrology, and space, which is, funny to think, because apparently for Greeks, astronomy and also history, which is Clio, were forms of art. And I can't really tell from here which one would be Clio, because, how do you depict history? But, one of these must be Terpsichore, because she was muse of dance. The fluted ones, not sure, what they might be. I think she is Talia because she is the muse of comedy. And there's also muse of tragedy, which I think was Melpomene. But the rest of them I cannot identify. So, but it's a lovely spread. And it would look really, really gorgeous finished. This is Apollo and Daphne. Once again, Apollo is chasing an unwilling woman and she begs her father to save her, and father transforms her into a laurel tree. And Apollo is so devastated that laurel leaves and laurel wreaths become his symbol. And this is another also Apollo. I don't remember what was this youth's name, but they were basically, it was his friend, or in some interpretations lover, and they were throwing discus together, and the wind carried threw the discus off the course, and it hit his friend in the forehead, and he died in his arms. Hyacinthus, that's because he became Hyacinth, or he transformed into Hyacinth after his death. Seeing that, yeah, the flowers told me that. This one I had to look up because I didn't know what it was, but apparently it's Clytie, basically one of Apollo's abandoned lovers. None of those stories, Apollo's love stories anyway, ended particularly well for a woman. This is Hades kidnapping Persephone. And this is Narcissus admiring himself. Basically, he was born startlingly beautiful, and he was given a prophecy that as long as he doesn't know himself, he will live a long life. But once, when he was, I think he was hunting, and he accidentally saw himself in the water, and he was so taken by his beauty that he just kept looking at himself, didn't drink, didn't eat, and eventually died. So that's where narcissism is coming from. So this one is all famous scene of Paris and the apple. So Paris is chosen to decide which one of the three goddesses is the most beautiful, Aphrodite, Athena, or Hera. And Aphrodite is offering him the most beautiful woman in the world. Athena is offering him wisdom and skill in war. And Hera, I think, was offering him power to make him king of Europe and possibly Asia, something like this. And he, being a young guy, of course, chose the most beautiful woman in the world, and thus kidnapped Helen of Troy, who was the wife of the king of Sparta, and basically kicked off the destruction of his home country and city. So, yeah. This one is a lovely myth. It's Endymion and Selene. Selene is moon goddess, and she falls in love with Endymion, who I think, at least in some versions, was a shepherd. And they have lovely love story, but she grows more and more worried about him dying because he's mortal. So she goes to Zeus and begs for immortality for her lover, and Zeus grants it, but on a condition that he would be in eternal sleep. So basically, she agrees, carries him into the mountains, and, you know, makes him comfortable, and just goes to visit him constantly while he just sleeps. Yeah. And this is the very well-known story of Pandora and Pandora's box, who was the first woman. Like in Christianity, we have Eve. Pretty much she was the Greek mythology version of the first woman. Apparently before that, all the humans were male, but she was created to carry all all the strife and misery into the world, you know, the usual attitude of mythology, woman being the evil creation. So here the stories are, once again, with the thumbnails. And this, the last part, is the star signs. They're like really lovely, small, contained pictures that would be, you know, easy to complete if you want to complete a picture of a star sign per month, for example. Some of us are doing that challenge. So this is Aries, obviously. This is Taurus, Gemini. And I think the stained glass borders are actually nice. They're not the same. You know, what happens often with that sort of a border is that they slap the same border to every picture. And then you can kind of stomach doing one, but you don't want to do the same border like 12 times over. But here they actually kind of correspond to what is happening in the actual picture inside. So yeah, I actually like them here. So this one is Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra. Here we have Scorpio, identified by a tiny scorpion on the ground. Here's Sagittarius and bows, the centaur. Here is Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. It must be Pisces. Where are the fish? Why are there no fish with Pisces? I think there's fish here. Okay, you can see fish here. See, I found a fish. There's another fish. Whew. I was not sure of myself for a while there. Yeah. And that's pretty much the end. And you have those flaps here, and the covers of the book are, I didn't show in the beginning, it's just a simple name of the book type of a cover. So as you can see, it's a lovely book. I will now get out some watercolors and possibly some pencils, and we'll do a couple of little short tests about what we're going to think about the paper. For trying out pencils, there's not too many little images here in the beginning or back that could just be colored independently. So I only found this little cherub that I thought I tried the quick skin on it because it's so tiny, it won't take long. So I picked polychromos to do that. So it's purple violet, caput mortuum violet, this one. Then there's dark flesh, and there's medium flesh, beige red, and ivory. And that's it. And I'm going to try to do it fairly quickly. It's a tiny image. Hopefully it won't take long. So I'm going to put some very, very light-handed shading down with the purple violet. It's obviously itsy bitsy, so it's hard to even color it. Okay, I tried to bring it a little bit closer so you would see a bit better what's happening here. Just a bit of a purple down here. It's so tiny, it's hard to even, you know, get the pencils into it. I'm just going to put that purple in as a shading, and maybe here, and maybe here, tiny bit. I'm not going to do it very detailed though. I just want to get a feel of the paper, and I think of it for pencils. And so far, in this tiny image. They're going down all right, but we'll see like how it does with layers and stuff. And then I'm going to use the Caput Mortuum, and I'm going to slightly warm up that purple now there. Still keep it there. And put that into the darker spots. Because the camera is essentially in my way, it's so close. My penciling is super awkward angles, so I will probably go over the lines and stuff like that because I just can't control it very well. Okay. We'll try to figure things out, and there should be strong shadow underneath his little chin. Here, where the legs are lapping. Let's do here as well. And a tiny bit here underneath the heel. Now, and I'm going to take the medium flesh, because the dark flesh I'm actually going to more use for blush, I think. Those are so red on their own. I don't think they're really... Okay. And I'm going to here we go. We get some pink into the knees here. And also put that on top of the dark layers. And the face is so small, there's not too much shading we can do here. Just give it a little bit of a shape, and that's it. And little pink toes. Okay. And now we're going to take the beige red, which I think is a lovely color, and bring it out a bit more. This one now is less red. It does have a bit of a warmth to it. Very good color. We're kind of bringing the skin tones together. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in the ivory. So yeah, pencils lay down very well. That wasn't really a surprise. Most of Japanese books, the paper is very nice for pencils. I'm more intrigued how the watercolor or any water-based media is going to behave here. So I did him with pretty sharp shadows, and you know, way less layers that probably would have been good to make him look truly nice. But yeah, they blend really nicely here. Yeah, and they go down very easily and blend relatively fast also. So pencils are going to be all right. Let's see about other ones. For water-based stuff, I found that tiny picture of flowers at the end of the book. And I'm going to try felt tip pens first. Let's see. This is Stabilo Power. Usually they don't immediately go through the paper. And they usually also don't streak. So if they streak on this paper, that shows us that this paper is really bad for any water-based media. I don't think it's great. It's not desperate either. They seem to be absorbing really fast. And that is usually a sign that they are going through or that you won't be able to move them. You have to work really fast to get some color down without it sinking immediately into paper and leaving hard edges. So I don't have the best feeling about the water-based media here, but we'll see afterwards. We'll check the back of the page. So this one was Stabilo Power. This one is Stabilo 68, pen 68, I think they're called. And let's do this one here. Yeah, this one doesn't want to go down well at all. It's not the best of the nibs, but usually I get it down smoother than this. This is not great. I don't think basing with water-based markers here is going to be the best. Like, this is a double-sided book. If it goes through and you like the picture on the other side, that's it, it's gone. I'm trying to keep the lines moving in the direction of where the petal is curving, but even then it becomes very uneven, and I can see that if I will work it a bit more, the paper would start peeling. It doesn't really like the water. But well, maybe I'm just imagining it. We can see at the back, but I think it's gone through. Okay, let's try some greens just for the fun of it. So let's take, these are now connector pens, Faber-Castell. They have really nice natural palette. Not great nibs. They are cheap kids tool. They're meant for, like, that's the point of connector pens. You can pretty much click them together and make all sorts of stuff out of it. My daughter still loves making crowns out of them. So yeah, that's, I can feel it soaking into the paper immediately. That paper is like, I've seen that type of a paper in Japanese books before. The lighter ones aren't as bad. I was trying to bit of a lighter color. Shen, what is it? She's demanding to be lifted up onto a different couch, and she can jump herself, just demands that I would do it for her. So we'll pause the video here, and I'm going to go and lift my dog. Back from serving my dog. I'm going to do this one, lighter green as well. Lighter green, actually, if you use lighter colors, it's not too bad. It's the very saturated dark colors that seem to be struggling. This one goes down pretty well and pretty evenly. Maybe it's just that bit juicier. I don't even know. Okay. So let's also try something yellow for the centers. Take a Stabilo Power. Just gonna go over it and go over it. This is just a base. Okay. Now let's try watercolor. Actually, watercolor. I'm going to take my Renaissance watercolors, and I think I'm going to use Scarlet. Yeah, Scarlet. So, and to make my life a bit easier, I'm going to use water brush. So this is Scarlet. Okay, that should be fine. And okay, now with the moment of truth, we'll see right away how it's going to sink or swim. Okay, it doesn't immediately sink. It kind of moves a little bit. Huh. I'm not trying to kind of do watercoloring or layering here. I'm just seeing how watercolor base would work. You know, can I put something quickly down and then afterwards go pencils on top? Because I like watercolor base a lot. Because on top of giving me a base color to work on and taking away the white of the paper, it also provides, because I'm using actual watercolor, those tiny pigment particles also add additional tooth for the pencil. It's actually very nice to color on actual watercolor base because of that. Yeah, okay, it looks nice, it looks even. I'm pretty sure that big areas probably would be no-go, but a couple of flowers here and, you know, kind of our smaller things, like clothing or tree or something like that, I'd say it would totally work. So I took a different color, just making sure. It's very, very tiny. Like, that's one of the things about doing anything in actual watercolor here. I was hoping that the felt tip pens would work because it's fairly detailed, and it's a small book, obviously, and the pictures are pretty detailed. So watercolor would be a challenge because you need to work in tiny areas. But we'll see now in a minute how it worked out for us. And now you can see how tiny that image actually was. So, moment of truth. We're going to flip the page to see what happened on the other side. I haven't checked it yet. Oh, actually not too bad. There's definitely shadowing. I don't know if you can see it here. The dark green I can definitely see here. And the kind of a dark reds. It will definitely shadow and come through a little bit. But the watercolor didn't come through. The water-based markers, yes, they came through. But actual watercolor, the flowers that I did with watercolor, they didn't come through. This one is just me being messy here. You know, you can see here, but yeah, there's a little bit of a shadowing when I did those green leaves there because I was using probably a bit too much water. But if you're sparing with water, you can definitely do watercolor base, not for big areas now, because that would need you to use more water. But I'm pretty sure that watercolor pencils and watercolor with, you know, water used sparingly would be okay in this book. So that's it. It's the Greek Mythology by, let's say that name again, Yoshimi Sekiguchi. This is how pencils look like on this paper. They go down nice and smooth. I would suggest harder pencil or something that keeps itself sharp for longer, because it's a small book and very detailed. So I don't think Prisma will be much fun here. It just would be endless sharpening, and your pencils would go down super fast. But yeah, I think it's a lovely book, and I will definitely enjoy working in it. So thank you very much for watching. Hope it was useful. Hope to see you again soon here. If you liked my channel, please like and subscribe, and have a good day or night or morning, whatever time it is in your corner of the world. Bye bye.